based on your experience and everything you just mentioned, how can that experience and all that passion that you bring to the table, how will that help you improve education, public housing, and the economy in District 6? And to make a reference, District 6, the new District 6, is basically Forest Glen, Wheaton, and Aspen Hill. It's a rather small district, but it's a new district that came out of the distribution of new districts in Montgomery County that were approved by the council in December.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So I have been fortunate enough to, at my young age, although I'm not that young, I'm 34 now, but I was elected at the age of 25. So I have already been elected and have represented a vast majority of the areas that you just described. So it includes Aspen Hill, Rockville, all the way up to Norbeck, Moncaster Mill Road, all the way to Redland. So it's actually a rather, it's smaller in terms of geographically. I mean, the population density is there. And so you also have the areas of Belpre, going down Lay Hill, down to Glenmont, of course, Wheaton, and then going into the Kent Mill, University Boulevard areas. Those were the areas that I had in my district. So some of the only, new areas I would say that I that were outside of District 19 are the areas of, I would say, going up Georgia towards Forest Glen, right? So one of the things that I'm very excited about is already understanding the diverse communities that make up District 6. And you just talked about 3 large areas, right? 3 important priorities that most constituents are worried about. And as I've been door knocking, we've been door knocking since August. So when it comes to schools, okay, during the pandemic, families have been, families, teachers, students, every stakeholder that that their lives are touched by our public education system, we've been in a crisis. So, I think it's about time to, bring up our sleeves, roll up our sleeves, and just stop pointing fingers. Voters are tired of that. It's like, it wasn't, it's not me, it's you, it's not the Board of Ed, it's the council members. Like, let's stop that. Let's work together. And so the way that I work and the reputation that I have from Annapolis is, it's understanding that policy is really a sausage making business. And in this country, which is probably something that is different in our countries of origin, is, that lobbying is such a big part of the sausage making business. And, some folks are like, well, isn't that like corruption? I mean, is it? If you have the ability to create organizations like the Chamber of Commerce that can lobby on your behalf, go to Annapolis and advocate, right? That's literally what policymaking is. That's what sausage making is. So we need to bring the stakeholders together and make sure that we're working together. Stop pointing fingers. So the good news is that at the state level, we heard from Annapolis that we are in a surplus, and we're also at a point where, and I was able to work on this when I was still in Annapolis, we voted and funded what's called the blueprint. So the new blueprint, it's education reform, which essentially says that every student in the state of Maryland needs to be prepared for college or a trade by grade 10. Okay. How does that impact our community in this county? How does that impact the district 6 as you speak? We have high number of English as a second language learners, not just Hispanic, but children of, from all countries all over the globe. In addition to, high farms enrollment, free and reduced meals enrollment. So there's a lot of need. But there's also a lot of opportunity to make sure that, we're not leaving any of those children behind. So why is education so important? I mean, obviously that's the way into the middle class, but also from a local economy perspective, an economist will always say, if you are living in a place where people want to come, that's a good problem to have. We're living in a housing we have a housing shortage right now. And we are in a pivotal moment where we know in the county that people are coming to the county. So let's get ahead of it. Let's build transit-oriented communities with, density housing in job centers. Let's face it, people want to move into, excuse me, my cell phone here. People want to move into cool kind of hip areas. You look at millennials, you look at young families, folks want to be able to work, live, and play. So if you look at the popular areas of the county, you'll like places like Pike and Rose, places like Rio, and here in Glenmont, for example, and I understand the issue, has been the same issue for the last decade, is or longer, is dealing with the disparate owners at the Glenmont shopping center. But you know what? I'm an attorney. Anything can be negotiated. When you basically let's put a price on it. Let's make sure that those shopping centers are serving the needs of our population. And having lived, so one of the things that as a young legislator, one of the things that I was forced to do was I had to move around even within my own district because I had my student debt. I wanted to save up enough money to buy my first home by the age of 30. And to be able to do that, I had housemates, I lived in basements, I lived in apartment buildings. And so I understand because I've lived all over this district. And right now I'm actually in my apartment in Wheaton. I actually ended up having to rent out my home. And so, that's the reality of folks that are from my generation or folks that are entrepreneurs. There's a lot of self-sacrifice. Sometimes you end up not paying yourself to be able to pay your employees. I know that firsthand. I lived that through my own life experience, but also as a daughter of self-employed individuals. So you hit on a lot of different issues there, Mauricio. You mentioned education, housing, and I think was there the economy? Was it the economy, or there's just a lot? It was a lot of subjects.
Housing and economy. Education, housing, and economy. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Excellent. So exactly. So the good news is that it's all almost interconnected. If our goal is to continue to expand the tax base, to continue to attract individuals to come to the county, that also means, okay, so again, housing affordability, which we touched, making sure that we're building transit oriented communities, and then also attracting entrepreneurs, and which is kind of what I was alluding to with my opening statement, which is, there's a lot of we have a lot of innovative, individuals right here in the county. One of the things that that I think that we should be doing better at is preserving our own students from this county. We spend $18,000 per student per year through MCPS, and a lot of times, that talent, once we've educated them, they may end up at University of Maryland, and then they end up leaving the state. So we want to make sure that we are retaining young professionals, that we're not losing them to Arlington and for Arlington County or DC. And how do you do that? What is exactly what I was talking about? Creating transit-oriented, exciting communities where people want to live.
Maricé, I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Let me see if have I been breaking up the whole time? No,
just the last part.
Okay. So just saying that we want to, build exciting communities where people want to live, work, and play, so that we're not losing out on our entrepreneurs, our young people, folks that we've invested in, making sure that we get the return in our investment by keeping them here in the county. Thank you for the question.